Welcome to First Byte. Our Detroit Lions preview podcast is back. It is week one. We are about 48 hours from kickoff of the NFL season featuring your Detroit Lions and the Kansas City Chiefs. My name is Jeremy Reisman. I'm the producer over at Pride of Detroit. You can find me at Detroit on the Lion. With me, as always, my co-host for the entire season of First Byte. He is your senior editor. He is at Ryan_POD. He is Ryan Matthews. Ryan, how excited are you to get this series kicked off yet again?
So excited that when you said 48 hours, I was like, game's tomorrow, dude. It's not, in fact. But man, if I've ever been more antsy for a game, I would like to do some deep psychology work to figure out which one it was, because it's definitely this one.
Yeah, I've realized the pacing has already started. I was in my kitchen today and I just realized I was pacing about the game. I'm like, the anticipation, man, it's already here, and I'm going to spend almost all of Thursday night pacing throughout my entire house. But to give us kind of a background of what we can expect maybe on Thursday night, as always in these First Byte previews, if this is your first year with the POD cast, we do these every week, and we want to bring in an outsider perspective from the other team, and this week is no different. We have got this week our guest, the lead analyst for our friends at Arrowhead Pride, part of the SB Nation crew, Ron Kopp, at Ron Kopp on Twitter. Ron, thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited. I wish the game was tomorrow, man. I wish you were right there, because man, it's 48 hours still seems like too long away. We've waited all these months, and 2 days. I still don't want to wait that long. Let's get this game going.
Absolutely.
You know what though? Through the magic of editing, though, and the fact that the podcast isn't going to hit until tomorrow, it is going to be tomorrow. Boom. For people who are listening. So
that's true.
Look at that.
You were just on top of your game. Yeah, you were just on your podcast game. There you go.
I like Ron. Okay, let's go.
All right. Well, again, if this is your first time hearing one of these First Byte podcasts, we like to split these into two segments. The first segment, we talk about one side of the ball versus the other side of the ball, and then we flip things around in the second segment. And considering today's news, Tuesday's news, if you're listening to this on Wednesday, the Travis Kelce news, of course, I'm talking about. Let's start with the Chiefs offense versus the Lions defense, and let's start right there, Ron. How big? I mean, a very general question here, but like, if Travis Kelce, and at this point we don't know if he's going to miss the game or not. All we know is a hyperextended knee. Early reports seem to say it's not a torn ACL. There's a lot of inflammation. They're going to check in on Wednesday and see what is, see how things look then. But if no Travis Kelce, how devastating of news is this to the Chiefs?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. To put it into context, I mean, you talk about last year, you talk about last season. The Chiefs, the biggest question was not having Tyreek Hill all of a sudden with their offense. How good could they be without Tyreek? How good could the Chiefs offense be? How good could Patrick Mahomes be? And they were one of the best offenses historically, of all time, efficiency numbers, EPA per play wise, in all certain situations, certain packages, certain formations. And it's because Travis Kelce was still there. It didn't matter that Tyreek was gone. They could find those kind of big plays from other guys, but the constant in this offense has always been Travis Kelce. He's never missed a game due to injury since his rookie season, when he missed the entire thing with some sort of knee injury. But he's been completely healthy since in his career since then. And that's the thing is we haven't really seen this offense without Travis Kelce as the centerpiece. He missed one game with COVID during the COVID season. It was a game against the Steelers, not really consequential. So this is going to be a huge deal, especially with kind of the change, the overchange at wide receiver too. There's a lot of different new names that have kind of come up into the lineup through the preseason, whether you're talking about rookie Rashee Rice, everyone's darling Justin Ross, who, we'll see, how much of an impact he has, but I do think Kadarius Toney as well, someone that was injured all preseason. He showed he can do something with us last year. He's apparently fully healthy. I didn't really expect him to be ready for week one, so that definitely helps. But it is something where, like, we don't feel good about it. Chiefs fans don't feel good. It's not one of those like, oh, Mahomes, he'll be fine. He's missing this guy. He's missing his left tackle. He's missing whoever. No, this is Travis Kelce, and we haven't seen this offense kind of operate without him. And so it's a big deal. I think the Chiefs might lean on the run game a little more because of it. But they're just going to have to depend on a lot of different guys. You're not going to see maybe one guy get close to 100 yards. It's going to be very spread out if Kelce's not involved.
Ron, I have a lot of curiosity about Kadarius Toney, just from the standpoint that he seems like a guy who obviously really struggles to stay on the field, doesn't play a great percentage of snaps, even when he is suited up and on the field. But I mean, the Chiefs, they saw an opportunity when they picked him up from the Giants. If he's a guy who can stay healthy, let's play in that little hypothetical world. If they're missing Travis Kelce, can Kadarius Toney hit the ground running and all of a sudden, oh man, Patrick Mahomes and Kadarius Toney is giving us hot flashes and reminding us of Tyreek Hill a few years ago.
So I wouldn't say he's going to hit the ground running per se, especially because he missed the entire preseason. Kadarius Toney's injury happened on the first. It wasn't even when during a practice. It was before practice started. The first training camp practice, he was just shagging kicks and punts. Like, it was something that happened so early on in the preseason. He never got any sort of snaps, any sort of time with the team in training camp. What that did, though, was it gave guys like Rashee Rice, Richie James, the veteran from the Giants, who they signed this offseason, to play more within the offense. And I actually think that may hurt Toney in terms of being a focal point of the offense, but he can still come in and be a very dynamic weapon situationally. And so I think you're going to see more of that, especially right away, where Toney's just going to be more situational, more, kind of design play rather than just a straight up, your receiver where he's getting, 10 plus targets in a game. So yeah, that's what I would say about Toney. I don't think he's going to be a featured receiver at all, especially right away, just because he wasn't able to practice with the offense at all this preseason.
Kind of almost sounds like, I don't want to speak for you, but maybe kind of a net positive in the sense that all of these other young guys got a lot more opportunities, maybe?
Yeah, I think it's a good point. Like a guy like Rashee Rice, the rookie, I didn't know if we should expect too much from him, but he got a lot of time with Mahomes this preseason, and man, he moves very well for his size. He had some drop problems. He had a lot of drops this preseason, so that might be one reason you don't see him on Thursday necessarily. But a guy like Justin Ross, he has shown something, being able to have a chemistry with Mahomes on back shoulder throws down the field. Kelce runs a lot of the Chiefs' isolated receiver things, where there's an X receiver on one side of the formation. Kelce kind of substitutes in for that receiver a lot of the time because they've never really had that traditional X receiver to really overwhelm a cornerback one-on-one individually on the backside of a formation. That's what Justin Ross can do potentially. And it's actually why there's a chance Kelce's absence could help Ross in this game right away, because they may need that bigger body on the outside in situations, and Mahomes trusts him. He definitely does, and Justin Ross, that is. So if he wants a guy like that to be relied upon, he doesn't have Kelce this time. So he's going to have to look at someone else, another big-bodied guy. It could be Justin Ross.
I'm looking at the rest of the Kansas City depth chart here at tight end, and they only got two other healthy guys in Noah Gray and Blake Bell. So what can you tell us about those two?
Yeah, Noah Gray is definitely someone we're excited about in Kansas City. His third year, he's definitely progressed. He's a guy that came in right away as more just a receiver type, not someone you're going to ask to block much, but he has developed in that sense. You can definitely ask him to be just like a traditional Y tight end now. He's still not the best blocker in terms of the strongest, but he can hold his own. As a receiver, though, he always moves pretty well for his size, man. He can release off the line of scrimmage well on the outside. He has good hands. So we've liked him in Kansas City. So I do think he has a solid chance to surprise some national media or just people that aren't aware of him as much on Thursday if Kelce doesn't play. Because I think he could fill in and catch your 7 or 8 targets and rack up 70, 80 yards and get open in the end zone. He's going to be a reliable option, but definitely nowhere near the elite weapon or the yards after catch or the route maestro that Kelce is. He's not going to be putting any linebackers or safeties in blenders like Kelce would potentially.
Maybe just one more question about the skill position players outside of the alien at quarterback. The running backs in Kansas City, Pacheco, McKinnon. Are we expecting anything from Clyde Edwards-Helaire this year? How does that group kind of shake out, and when do you kind of expect those guys to be on the field? Is Pacheco more of that first down, second down guy, and McKinnon more on passing downs? What's that look like in the Chiefs offense, you think, this year?
Yeah, you had it. I mean, it's Pacheco on early downs. It's McKinnon on pass downs. Clyde is interesting. I've been kind of saying, Clyde doesn't have a very good favor around here. He's first round pick that hasn't lived up to that. And a lot of people, think he should just be cut. He's not a very talented back. I've always said I think they have a plan for Clyde, and that's to, keep the legs of Jerick McKinnon and Isaiah Pacheco fresh throughout the season, right? I think you're going to see Clyde get tons of touches, at least in the first half of the season, because he knows the offense, because he is a decent receiver, a decent receiving option. He had 6 red zone touchdowns last year, 3 of them receiving. I mean, in the first 6 games of the season, I should say, a touchdown a game. Now, this is a guy that can definitely contribute in the offense, but he's the guy that is just getting the ball to save the other guy's legs, because Pacheco and McKinnon are the 2 better playmakers, in my opinion. We actually saw LaMichael Pirine, a 4th-round pick of the Jets a few years ago. He came into camp and actually looked good to me. I thought they were going to keep him as the 4th running back and maybe be another option in there as well as a pass protector type. But no, Pacheco is really the highlight here. He could give you some big runs, and especially with Travis Kelce being out, I could see them leaning on the ground game quite a bit. And Pacheco's definitely that guy that just needs 1 or 2, and he has the 4.39 speed to break one and kind of make a big run out of it.
Well, obviously key to that running game is the offensive line, and the Chiefs come into 2023 with, I think, very high expectations of their offensive line. Last year, per ESPN's pass block win rate, they were third in run block win rate, but they come in and they switch both offensive tackles. You got a new left tackle in Donovan Smith, a new right tackle in Jawan Taylor. Tell me how they fit into kind of the overall plan thus far. I know it's only the preseason and training camp, but
right.
Is this still expected to be like a top 3, top 2 unit in the league?
Yes, absolutely. And it's mainly because of the 3 guys on the interior.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys are just so good together. I mean, they just set the pocket so well. It really helps the offensive tackles too a lot of times. That's why Orlando Brown Jr., I think, really looked even better than maybe his production would tell you, and sometimes his production didn't even look that good. He had such an easy job next to Joe Tooney, Patrick Mahomes, having that front of the pocket he could always step up into to avoid the speed rush. That's going to make it. But I really do think they upgraded at the offensive tackle position overall. I don't know for sure if that means Donovan Smith is better than Orlando Brown Jr. I think that is. I think there's some things that Brown's much better at and some things Smith is much better at. So we'll see. But Jawan Taylor, been very impressed with how he moves as a pass protector. Just has the length too. I mean, that's a big upgrade over Andrew Wiley on the other side last year. And I think they both fit Andy Reid's system a lot more in terms of Andy Reid loves, you guys up there, you guys love your varied run scheme, right? You guys are running poles, you guys are running zone, you guys are running so many different things. Andy Reid is just all outside zone, outside zone, outside zone. The Chiefs love that stuff, and Donovan Smith and Jawan Taylor are much better fits for that kind of thing, just because they're faster off the ball than Orlando Brown Jr. They have length, so they can get on linebackers, they can cut off backside defenders. So definitely a better fit, in my opinion, what they got now at the offensive tackle positions.
Jeremy, for as high as you are on the Lions defense this year, as we talked about yesterday on the podcast, any type of shivers going down your spine as Ron talks about, you know what? Chiefs are just going to call an audible if Travis Kelce can't go, and maybe they run on that run game a little bit more heavily against a team that was giving up so many yards per game on the ground last year.
I mean, of course, yeah. Like, as much as I believe that this team improved the middle of their defense, certainly at the second level, there's still a lot of questions on the interior, right? Like, they just benched Bugs, a guy who 2 weeks ago we thought was like their premier starter, maybe not premier, but like a good run defender starter, and they've decided to bench him in favor of Benito Jones. And Levi Onwuzurike is back, and we just talked to him today in the locker room, and it seems like he's excited to be out there. It seems like he's fully healthy, but maybe he provides a little bit more in the pass rush than he does in the run defense. So yeah, of course that's a pretty big concern at this point, and to know that really the Chiefs offense, especially on the ground, runs through those 3 interior guys is maybe the biggest challenge, I think, for the defense going into this game, which is kind of crazy to say considering we've barely talked about Patrick Mahomes, and he's the ace up the sleeve of all ace up the sleeves. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you want me to talk about Patrick Mahomes, I sure can. I don't know if I can say something bad about him. So I'm going to be honest.
That was in the outline. Please say something bad about Patrick Mahomes. I won't. You won't have to say that.
Yeah, no, hey, I can sure think of something. I don't know if it'll be accurate or honest, but no, It is fun, you know, as a Chiefs fan. I mean, you know, we get to talk about every other part of it, especially as an analyst. You know, we get so excited about, you know, everything about the football game, but you know, we kind of do ignore the Patrick Mahomes part of it because it's such a given that he is going to be, you know, on the money, you know, dialed in. He's going to be locked in. You know, he's going to be executing the game plan completely. But again, without Travis Kelce, you know, I do think we're going to see how much he trusts his other guys and how much he trusts guys to a default, or whether he's willing to go back to guys after, you know, a drop early in the game, right? You know, a guy like Sky Moore, a lot of expectations for him around here to kind of fill in for that Juju Smith-Schuster spot, maybe lead the receiver room in targets, maybe not yards or anything, but just as a guy that's going to be, you know, getting the ball quite a bit in his hands. You know, is Mahomes going to trust him enough to target him 10 to 12 times without Kelce, right? You know, is Mahomes going to trust MVS to target him over and over and over, even though, you know, he's a pretty up and down player. So I do think that's one thing with Mahomes is without Kelce, you're going to see, you know, just how willing he is to kind of trust his guys. And it'll be curious to see if he's, you know, if he has the willingness, or I guess the patience maybe to stay with some of them.
I got one last question for you, Ron, before we head to break here. What do we make of the fact that the Chiefs swapped out Eric Bieniemy for Matt Nagy? You know, they stay with somebody in house. There's kind of all these, you know, question marks around Bieniemy, and of course, you know, the Lions, when they were in their coaching hire cycle, you know, they chose Campbell and passed over Bieniemy, who's another hot name, and caught a lot of flack for that, I think, in the national media. But, you know, he moves on to Washington. They stick with Matt Nagy. Is there any really kind of like discernible difference you feel like there, or is it's really just Andy Reid?
Again, the success on the field, I don't think you're going to know much of a difference, right? But I do think there's probably some philosophy stuff, or just some mentality stuff, behind the scenes stuff, that is kind of underrated about the difference between Bieniemy and Nagy. If you watch, the Chiefs have this, and almost every team does nowadays, this like Hard Knocks version of, but they make it themselves, right? It's their little YouTube clip. They kind of go behind the scenes, and you can just see that Nagy really is like a cheerleader for Mahomes. He really is like a fan of Mahomes. He like talks. He's glowing about him. He's really, he talks about him like a fangirl almost. While Bieniemy obviously did not. Bieniemy was much more of a coach, was much more of a, you know, hey, you know, this, you know, I'm his superior, you know, I'm talking like, you know, about him like he's one of my soldiers, you know. There is something to that, you know, that maybe Mahomes is going to lose some of that, you know, on the sideline, someone getting in his butt about, you know, maybe missing a play, or maybe not looking, you know, running a play correctly because he's feeling himself and he wants to, you know, use his own talents or whatever. You know, maybe Bieniemy was good to rein that in a little bit. I don't know this for sure. You know, this is all speculation. But we have seen Bieniemy and Mahomes go at each other, you know, pretty, vocally on the sidelines. And they all said it's all good afterwards, but that's competitors being competitors. That's not something that Nagy's going to do, in my opinion. So you might lose some of that, and maybe that loses, you know, maybe Mahomes loses a little bit of fire because of that. I don't know. This is all speculation, but I'm just trying to make you guys smile over there. So.
Ryan, I got a question for you.
What's that?
Is Matt Nagy rizzing up Patrick Mahomes too hard?
Are you surprised that a former Bears coach would do that?
No, I do have one more question to before we go out here on a break. Because I think a lot of times when we bring in a guest here, we grill you about the team that we're playing, obviously, because you have the information there. But I'm kind of curious as as we head into the season and no one knows anything about anything, but your perception of the Detroit Lions, specifically their defense, obviously didn't finish the season very well, made a lot of changes this offseason. In terms of this matchup specifically, is there anything that either you're intrigued by, worried about, or maybe the opposite? Maybe you're like, oh, the Lions suck here. The Chiefs are going to have a huge advantage there.
Well, not having Travis Kelce, I am very curious and maybe a little bit, concerned a little bit about the Detroit secondary, that revamped secondary. You know, you guys brought in Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, which we have a history with a little bit. Yeah. You guys brought in, Brian Branch, the rookie, which I don't know how much he's going to play right away, but Jack Campbell, the rookie linebacker, there's upgraded at talent in that back seven, and not having Travis Kelce, there are a lot of pieces to this Chiefs receiving core that we don't exactly know how they're going to fit in. And obviously you guys are dealing with a similar thing in terms of how they're going to fit in too. But you're more at full strength than we would be without Travis Kelce. And so maybe there is a disadvantage there for the Chiefs where these receivers, as they are trying to maybe think through what they're doing and kind of early in the season, these Lions defensive backs may give them a little trouble. I'd be curious to see how they're deployed, if Chauncey's still going to be more in the slot or if maybe he's going to be more of just a true safety. You guys may know more on that, but that's my main thing. Cause I look at your guys' front, and no offense, but like I do wonder why you didn't upgrade a little more on the interior. Because I do think the Chiefs can take advantage of that pretty good in the run game and in the pass game. Creating a good pocket in the front. But I'm curious to see about the back end and Aiden Hutchinson as well. Obviously, I think he's a great matchup on the edges, but specifically on the insides, I feel like you guys could have improved, but we should have. I could say the same thing about us, to be honest with you. So yeah.
All right. We're going to take a break here. When we come back here with our guest Ron Kopp from Arrowhead Pride, we are going to talk about the Lions offense against the Chiefs defense. And the Chiefs also might be missing I don't even think it's a question anymore. The Chiefs are going to be missing a pretty huge part of that defense as well. So we'll talk about that and a whole lot more when we come back here on First Byte.
What's going on, guys? Miko here from Pride of Detroit. Thanks for taking the time to check out this clip from our most recent POD live stream. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see where the conversation went from here, all you have to do is click the link in the description that'll take you over to our Twitch channel. And once you're on our Twitch channel, be sure to drop us a follow or subscribe if you're so inclined. That way you can be notified anytime we go live and be a part of our live audience, which means that you may be privy to content that doesn't always make it onto the audio version of the podcast or even onto YouTube. Also, if you're more inclined and you prefer an audio version of our live streams, you can click the links to both Spotify or Apple Music, which will take you to their platform, and you can download the entire audio version of the podcast and listen to it whenever you want to. Again, we appreciate you guys and thank you for the support. Be sure to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to this channel if you're new, and we will be sure to keep bringing you amazing Lions content.